if not for the coronavirus, I'd probably be finishing the Cleveland Way about this time today. But I'm sure we can all relate to that in our own way. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we can try again in September. In the meantime, I've been trying to get my kit together and see where I am in terms of a base weight. So I've got my rucksack here, and I've been using a website called lighterpack.com, where you can plot and keep organised all your weights, different compartments and things, make a nice little pie chart and see where you are. And according to this, my base weight should be around 11 kilos, which is not too bad, probably less than it was a year ago, but I'd like to get it down further if we can. And yeah, so starting with the rucksack itself, it's the Montane U-Pick 50, the same bag I used on the South Downs Way last year, big enough for a 5 or 6 day trek. The weight of this is about 1.6 kilos when it's empty. It's currently not empty. I've got my 2 litre bladder inside, but I do have a 1.5 litre bladder I could use instead, and that would save me a good 100 kilos or so. But generally it's not ultra light, but it's very lightweight. And just mentioning water there, I try and carry a maximum of 1 litre in the bladder when I'm walking. I also take with me this Aquapure Traveller water bottle, which has a filter built into the lid, and the bottle itself, you can squeeze it, so effectively you can drink from here, but also you can use it to refill other devices like the water bladder, so it can be used as a filter rather than carrying a bottle and a filter separately. Now we can move on to looking at the shelter. I'm using the Lux Hex Peak V4A again, very faithful and reliable from previous trips along the South Downs Way and the Ridgeway. Not the lightest at 700 grams, but again, I trust in that. I'm not going to try and replace it just now. I have an option of 2 inner tents. So this is the outer tent actually. The inner tent lives inside this bag. The idea being that I can deploy the outer tent in wet weather and get my stuff dry inside quickly, and the inner stays dry throughout. But I've got the standard V4A single person inner in here that weighs, I think, 660 grams. I did buy, before lockdown, I bought this from AliExpress. It's a 2-person inner, ultra light. It looks like it will fit the Hex Peak shape. I've not tried it out yet, and it weighs only 600 grams. It's a bit less than this one, but it's still a bit too much for a trip, I think. Alternatively, I could buy a ultralight version of this tent from AliExpress, and that would probably weigh 450 grams, but I'm not quite sure just yet. This one was £50 on AliExpress, plus a bit delivery, about half the price of the Lux 2-person inner, and it arrived in exactly 20 days, no complaints. I'll give it a try at some point, I'm sure I will. I also packed the tent pegs separately. I've got enough pegs in here to do the shelter, plus 1 spare in case something breaks or bends. And again, it's so I can easily get to them and set up at the campsite. And the tent itself is supported with one of these walking poles. I normally use 2 when I'm walking, just to give myself some stability and balance, carrying a load on my back. Previously I would use this walking pole joiner, but I don't need it with these poles because they're more than long enough to accommodate the Hex Peak tent. 1 pole on its own is just enough, so I could save like 15 grams by not taking this. Now I can look at clothing. I've got a bag here of spare clothes. It's basically got 2 spare t-shirts, 2 spare pairs of underwear, a long sleeve t-shirt for the evenings, a spare pair of thin walking socks, and a spare pair of walking liner socks. And this one has got my night clothes in, so I've got 2 base layers, 1 top, 1 bottom, both with long sleeves. They are polyester, they're not merino wool, so a bit lighter in weight, and fine for this kind of summer, spring, autumn season. I've also got a pair of socks in there to wear at night in case it does get cold. They're quite thin socks, but again, very lightweight. Waterproof, so I've got these mountain equipment mitts, which I quite like. They go over all my gloves in case I get wet and cold. Really reliable and waterproof, highly recommend those. Then I've got my Berghaus, I think it's the fast hike trousers. They are over trousers with a 3/4 length zip, which is really handy. And again, they're fairly lightweight. But I believe the newer model is the Fast Hike, or was it Pack Light? One of the two. I've got the older ones of the two, and they were really good value so far, really waterproof and lightweight. My jacket is the Mountain Equipment Rupal, which I've had for about 18 months now. The most waterproof thing I own in terms of a shell, but it is quite heavy at 550 odd grams. I'd rather not take it on a trail. I left it behind last year actually, and I got caught out in bad weather on the penultimate day, and my other waterproof jacket just really let me down badly. So I'd rather have this than the other one, but I'm thinking about buying a Montane Atomic jacket, which is about 300 grams lighter than this one. Less than £100 to buy new, and I think it may be worth the investment to save some weight on the trail. But otherwise, it's pretty much bomb-proof when it does rain. And I've also got a waterproof beanie. Inside here I keep some thin liner gloves. Got some fingerless gloves I kind of made myself. Not a fan of Rab, to be honest. And they were like 20 quid, and the stitching was failing after a year, so I cut the fingers off. And I've also got a buff. This one it's not merino, again, it's fairly lightweight. Useful in cooler evenings, but also in the night time, so I can wear it as an eye mask. And that lives in here, in the top of my rucksack, where it's easy to get to. And here we have all my sleep kits. I've got the Thermarest Sedlight mat, which I left behind last year, and I felt the cold coming through my other mats, so it's definitely going with me this year. I've saved some weight on it though by cutting off this portion of the mat, so it's now a 3/4 length or 4 foot long, which is enough for my torso. It's also more packable this way, and it's good. It's lighter as well. This can be used as a luxurious day hiking sit mat, I guess, but that's staying behind. This will now go into my side pocket on the rucksack. Then my sleeping bag is the Outbreak cloud cover quilt, which worked quite well last year. One thing I did find is it's quite drafty in the cold evenings or when the early hours of the morning. So I'm going to take my Cedar Summit reactor liner to go inside that just in case. The down quilt lives inside this dry bag to keep it dry, otherwise when down gets wet it's basically useless, it needs to dry out first. Instead of taking the red dry bag here, I could put it inside this bag here, which is my pump mat bag for the mattress I bought last year. That would probably save 20 grams or so. And the mat itself is the Venuo, that's the brand name anyway. I bought it on Amazon last year, made a video about it. This exact brand is no longer available, but I'll put a link below to something very similar. It's very similar to the Alpkit's Cloud Base, except it's blue. Very good for side sleepers in my experience. Then I've got this piece of non-slip matting, it's from IKEA. And finally I've got this little inflating pillow. It's branded Nature Hike. It looks very similar to the Cedar Summit one that everyone likes, I think it's the Aeros. Very comfortable. I've used it a few times in the last year. Not going without it. Then I have various small bags and items for this last section, starting with my cook kit, which I showed you in another video quite recently. I've also got this long handled spoon to go with that, that's made by Vango. And this is the Cascade Wild lightweight folding table. This mesh bag here has my hygiene kit in it, so I need to allow for some sun cream and insect spray. And I'm going to change this Mountain Warehouse toothbrush, which I find quite uncomfortable and a bit bulky, for a very recent purchase from a website. This is some toothpaste, tiny little toothbrush in there, but that'll be going with me this time. And I can still try and reduce some weight from this lot, I reckon. Now the yellow bag is my head torch with one set of spare batteries. That's all I need in there, quite light. This red bag has my electronic stuff, so it's my power bank, which will recharge my phone or camera 2.5 times. I've got leads to go with the camera and the phone. I've got some spare batteries, spare SD cards, and my iPod in there. Now this one is my first aid kit, and this is my this is almost a duplicate of what's in here. I tend to bury my first aid kit in my rucksack and never look at it again, whether it's day hiking or whatever. So I should try and take some of this and put it into here and just leave some of this behind. So I've got some work to do there. My wallet kind of goes up and down depending on what's in there. I've currently got a fair few coins in there because we can't really, well, we're not advised to use money if we can pay by card at the moment. So then I've got midge-proof head net, again weightless but useful in the evening sometimes. Compass, never go without it. This little torch lives in the top of my rucksack so that I can see inside and find the contents in the evening or in a dark time. This is a waterproof phone case. I highly recommend Aquapack, really good value for money. Never let me down so far. This one has my ICE card with my emergency details, and I've also got a little notebook in there for details. And I've got my photography camera, which is the Olympus Tough TG4, waterproof, takes decent photos, and I've got some spare batteries for that in the red bag. And I've recently bought this little tripod from Manfrotto. It's pretty decent. You can swivel the head really easily to any angle you like. It's firm and solid on the ground. It's not too big or too heavy. That's definitely going with me. Now I can see if I can get all of this into my 50-litre rucksack. I'm sure I've done myself no favours there with that time lapse. But now we're going to see if the base weight is anywhere close to 11 kilos, as I hope it will be. And there we have it, 11.2 kilos. Not terrible, but if I can get it below 10 kilos, I'll be happy. And these are some of the items I'm not taking with me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in a new video soon.